Aisha Jordan. This is Season 1, Episode 4 of Circle Navigation.
On today's episode of Circle Navigation, today we will take you down south to Atlanta, Georgia with business mogul and entrepreneur Christopher Fowler.
We also have my new co-host, Jate Brielle Elliott.
Navigate by boats, public transportation, planes, and motor vehicles to take you on a journey around the world.
Welcome back to Season 1, Episode 4 of Circle Navigation. Last week, we visited My'Stiq Entertainment at Lake Lanier with Terry and Kim Davis. For those of you that don't know, Lake Lanier is a man-made lake. The government evacuated many towns to have it created, one of those towns being Oscarville. Lake Lanier is known for its tragedies and the fact that it's haunted. And despite all of that, I actually had a chance to experience the lake myself, and it's absolutely beautiful and amazing. I got a chance to tour the yachts and take a 2-hour cruise. Let's go inside with Terry and Kim Davis to share my experience.
Oscarville was once a thriving Black American farm town in Forsyth County, Georgia, until the viciousness of racism and injustice led to its destruction. In September 1912, 2 separate alleged attacks on white women led to multiple black men being accused. This included Ernest Knox and his half-brother, who were brought to trial after Knox's confession and hung to death just 21 days after the conviction. Robert Edwards, who was charged in connection with the second alleged attack, was shot to death and hung without due process. These attacks, along with other racially motivated social issues, caused an angry mob of white men, known as the Night Riders, to begin a racial cleansing not only in Forsyth, but in many of the other nearby counties as well. It was during this time that most of the black properties were transferred to whites without a sale or legal transfer of title. Eventually, after the cleansing, the village became the primary site of what is now known as Lake Lanier.
This is Circle Navigation. Let's go into commercial break to pay some bills.
Man, I need a proper team, man. I need a proper team. No.
Mr. Keon Oldesby.
Dude, don't move! Hands up! Be up, hold my ass!
Heavy.
You ain't no red first money to protect the rock. I don't want to see you throw your life away in the streets, man.
Welcome back to Circle Navigation. We had a little fun and took you inside to Lake Lanier. Now it's time to get into something a little more serious. Domestic violence. Domestic violence is a tragic disease in many households across the world. It has no discrimination and its ruthlessness has no bounds. To help me speak more on this topic, let me introduce my special guest and co-host, April Vafias.
Thanks for the introduction, Aisha. My name is April V. To give you a little history prior to Circle Navigation, I was a cop for 17 years. Therefore, I was trained in domestic violence. I knew the signs. I could see the signs. While I was a police officer, I did earn my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, minor in psychology, and a partial master's in public administration. Also, I am the secretary of the Domestic Violence Task Force for the 5th Circuit. No one should ever live in fear. You should not be scared to voice what's going on. Find you a trusted person to talk to. There's resources out there for you. They're not going to come to you. You have to go looking for them. However, we have provided some phone numbers for assistance and help, depending on your state, for your local resources. It's been 5 years since the incident occurred. This is my first time speaking publicly about it due to the humiliation that it caused, the embarrassment that it actually happened to me. Being a police officer, it's not supposed to happen to me, but it can, and it did. I was once a victim. I'm proud to announce that I'm now a survivor. To get a little bit more in depth on this topic, I would like to introduce a good friend of mine, Ted Hall.
What's going on, people? I'm Ted Hall, mental health therapist, and we're here to talk about domestic violence and circle navigation. So I've been asked to come here and talk about family violence. And family violence is a pandemic within a pandemic. First and foremost, family violence is basically described as any member in a family using fear to control somebody else within a family. So that can be done through physical violence, but that can also be done through emotional abuse. That can be done through economic abuse, controlling the money just to get someone to do what you want them to do. That can be done through manipulation, through sexual abuse. So when we talk about family violence, we're talking about somebody imposing their will in order to be able to control someone in a way that they don't want to be controlled. So let me tell you why I'm so passionate about family violence. Family violence isn't just a problem that affects people within a given home. Family violence is a societal problem. Kids that grow up in homes with family violence can develop a lot of problems. Anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. They have problems with their own relationships going forward. For example, a boy that grows up in a home with family violence is more likely to use that on a woman that he encounters on down the line. A woman that grows up in a home with family violence is more likely to think that that's the type of man that she needs to be with. Because we as a people, we have a tendency to surround ourselves with not people who are necessarily good for us, but people that are familiar to us. But the last reason why I say it's a societal problem is because of this. In the words of the great Martin Luther King Jr., violence begets violence. If I grow up in a violent home, I'm more likely to put that violence on someone else. So to me, treating family violence is basically treating our society. If we teach people how to treat the people within their own home, they're more likely to not only treat those people better, but treat the next citizen better, to treat people better. So one of the ways that we can do something about family violence is even being able to know the signs of an abusive relationship. So I wanted to share some of those signs with you. The first sign that you might be getting into an abusive relationship, the person has what I like to call probation officer tendencies. As soon as you leave the house, they're calling you 5, 6, 7 times. They go through your things without asking you. They basically try to describe your life and your reality. That's a sign that you might get in an abusive relationship. Another sign that you might get into an abusive relationship, or you might be in an abusive relationship, is when that person tries to blame you for how they feel and how they act. Remind yourself of this, and I'm talking to the men and the women. We all have problems. We all have problems. But never let somebody justify putting their hands on you or calling you out of your name just because of what you did to them. So what can I say to someone who's in an abusive relationship? Get out. That person will not change until that person gets the necessary help. Family violence is not about what you're doing. It's about what that person believes that's making them do those things to you. And without the necessary help, those things aren't going to change. If you are in an abusive relationship, there are a couple of things you can do. For one thing, almost every community has what's called a domestic violence shelter. Google and find that number, get in contact with someone and let them help you. You can also call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That number is 1-800-799-SAFE. Again, that's 1-800-799-SAFE. Once again, that situation will not get better unless you take the steps to make it better. Once again, I'm Ted Hall, mental health therapist, and this has been a moment with Circle Navigation.
Again, my name is April V. We're going to go to commercial break and take some breaks.
General
Information trainer here. We're at the Leroy Rogers Center. This is my class, Body Blast. Body Blast is a tribe of collective people that want to strive for more. We're here to encourage that. So this is the place that happens.
Chef Boy Cooking.
At this time, I would like to go into more detail about my situation and what happened with me. Are you ready? Set. My time. The day of my incident was May 7th, 2017. It was the Sunday before Mother's Day weekend. My significant other and I decided that we were going to go to the river. It was my first time. I was excited to go. We packed up and left. As we were there, two of his friends that showed up, he said he hadn't seen him in 20 years. He walked off with them. I had a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. I knew something wasn't right. Therefore, I picked up my phone, changed my lock code on it, and found a recording app and hit record. I set my phone down, let it time out. Sure enough, when it came back, I could tell automatically. All the physical manifestations was there. You can tell he had been smoking meth. He was a demon. He was a different person. After arguing with him for a little bit, he finally got into the car to leave, and he had the gun with him. He actually held it up against my head at one point and threatened to kill me. As we were going home, he got more and more irritated, was shooting rounds out the window. He got mad because I made a wrong turn and grabbed my steering wheel, pulled it, and we wrecked into the ditch. I was crying hysterically. He came around to the driver's side and pulled me out of the car by my ponytail into the ditch, where he started choking me. I couldn't breathe. I thought I'm fixing to die right here on the dirt road. Finally, he moved his body a certain way to where I was able to kick him in the groin, and he released me, and I started crawling up the ditch. Whenever I did that, he saw me trying to get away, so he kicked me in my ribs on my right side, which broke all of my ribs, and pistol whipped me in the head, which caused a concussion. All I could do was scream, lay there in the middle of the dirt road. This was just a summary of what happened, just a few details I could get in. So whenever you think in your mind that it won't happen to you or could not happen to you, think again. Domestic violence does not discriminate.
All right, welcome back to Circle Navigation. This is Terry the coming to you live tonight. We want to say thank you, Isha and April, for the introduction. And tonight, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you a special young lady, Lady Z. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Now we want to talk to you about the safety and importance of COVID-19, making sure you maintain washing your hands, wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart, and also obtaining the vaccination. Lady Z, can you elaborate a little bit on what your opinion is on the vaccination and all these things that we're talking about as far as COVID?
Absolutely. While I do feel that it's very important for everyone to take necessary precautions, as far as the vaccinations are concerned, there's a lot of risk and there's a lot of complications, and those complications are not being addressed. To me, it's more or less they're being swept under the rug. The likelihood of catching COVID-19 by comparison with the flu and common colds, it's slim to none when you look at the risk of the vaccinations. Heart information, brain information. You have children who have literally died after the vaccination. And so it's not that I would deter anyone from taking the vaccination. Each person has their own individual choice. However, I would encourage any and everyone to do your research. When a vaccine is pushed out as quickly as the one that they pushed for this COVID-19, and now there's a Delta variant for which the vaccination is primarily unsuccessful in treating, you have to, again, look at the risk versus the reward.
And so, Lady Z, it has been my honor and pleasure to have you on today. Thank you so much for your expertise. There you have it. Like she said, we must convey, go out, wear your mask, sanitize, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart. And I can't agree with her more. I do not agree with the vaccination, but do what's best for you.
Shooting stars on the snail like a drummer. The stratosphere, my London too, just like a tunnel. Space age chemical, it's called friction. Atmosphere is all liquid in my soul.
The meaning behind the brand is pure intentions, destined for success, not just a brand, but a lifestyle.
Welcome back to Circle Navigation. My name is Tyron, Slade, co-star to the upcoming movie, I Swear I Promise, which is filmed, directed, edited by none other than my brother, Christopher the Great. You just heard from Miss April V and the awareness on domestic violence and what goes on. Now we're about to get into our exclusive highlight of the week. All right, people, today's segment is about Mr. Larry B. Hoover. He is formerly known as the honorable chairman of the notorious street organization called the Gangster Disciples, or as he would say, and the few 100,000 people that follow his teachings will call it, growth and development. The honorable chairman was born November 30th, 1950 in Jackson, Mississippi, and at 4 years old, his parents moved him from Jackson, Mississippi to Chicago, Illinois in a rough place called Inglewood. And just 8 years later, at the tender age of 12, is when he decided to take his steps toward growth and development. Many believe that Mr. Larry B. Hoover is a political prisoner because he has the power to galvanize the people. And the effects of his imprisonment has trickled all the way down to the small city of Adel, Georgia, where it has affected one of our own, Jeremiah Covington. And similar to Mr. Larry Hoover, Jeremiah Covington is also politically imprisoned because of his ability to galvanize his people. So before we navigate to today's next segment, I gotta hit you with the Circle Navigation Trivia question of the day. And that question is, who is the writer, director, and producer of the movie I Swear I Promise, which is upcoming in July sometime this month, and also the day after the lick? But before we get to the answer to that, let me take you to an inside sneak peek to I Swear I Promise.
We don't make it rain. We don't paper airplane. Thirst I drop out pack. Fried I pick up sack. Sad I stash that sack.
Rude boy. It's great, man. Yeah, great, man. You remember the favor you say you owe me? I say you remember the favor you say you owe me? Man, I need a proper thing, man. I need a proper thing. Yeah, man, I'm trying to flood the whole city. I got a private plane, man. I should be touching down in like an hour, man. Yeah, link up. Aight, rude boy. Soon come. Real nigga fucked up. You gotta step on the road, though.
And I'm back out of the sneak peek with the answer for you. And if you said Christopher Tarantino, then you, my friend, are correct. And with that being said, my name is Tyron Slade, aka SCE, and this concludes my segment of Circle Navigation's exclusive segment of the week. And while you're at it, do not forget to go download Ordain, the new single by Christopher the Great, featuring Blood Raw. You can find it on all major platforms. Do it now.
You got to save us. Thank God for Grandma Sarah, Granddaddy Jimmy, a stand-up man, they instilled it in me. My life is full with drama, a couple million just to take care of my baby mothers. Now as the world turns, the things we learn, I'm selling poison to my people, let they soul burn. But that's the way of life, the way the hood is. We live in check for check, we struggle.